Okay, another Friday afternoon chat. What I thought I'd do this time is a little bit different because the YouTube live didn't work very well the other week because of the low bandwidth. But I really enjoyed the sort of the Q&A sort of aspect to it, and I hope that you guys can get some value out of that. What I thought I'd do was just go through some of the questions. So I'll like in the comments. So I'll go through and I'll just pick a couple and I'll talk about that. So so in the future, or I mean, basically what you can do is put comments or any questions you have, put it in the comments in the particular video, and and it'll come up, and then we can sort of talk about that. So maybe we'll run with that, and let's give that a try and see how that goes. And so like a poor man's YouTube live if you've only got lousy bandwidth. So okay, let's go look at some of these questions. Thanks for the videos. This is from Brendan. Are you able to review carbon wheels with an alloy braking surfaces and whether this mitigates some of the overheating? Yes, it does mitigate some of the heating with the resins. It does introduce another problem with the bonding of dissimilar materials. So there are pros and cons. I think there's been enough change in the resins being used in the full carbon wheels since I last spoke about that in Maven's video. So the resins have improved quite significantly, and that's sort of less of a problem than what it has. So yeah, a bunch of variables. That's really going to be another topic for itself. So I'll get to that down the track. How about cutting out an alloy frame to get an inside look at the hydroform tubes? The hydroform tubes are really clean on the inside. Like, I think I actually do have one downstairs, a Giant, which is sort of a hybrid carbon and aluminium frame. So it's got certain bits of aluminium and other bits of carbon, and they're bonded together. I've cut that open. I was going to do a review on that in the coming when I get some time to do that. So, but that's in the pipeline. Focusing properly on the camera. That's I'm using my phone here. I'm not using my full camera. As I said, I'm just using my phone on this for this. It's just easier to set up. I don't need to sync audio or anything like that. So. Getting the video right is always a challenge, and it's something I'm keep working on. So looking at focal points, etc. So thanks for the tip. I'll keep working on that one. About the lightweight wheel review, what happens when these go out of true, or is that even possible? Typically, it won't happen. So the carbon doesn't stretch, basically. So if it's built straight, it'll maintain straight unless it gets damaged, delaminated, etc. Here we go. Came from Shane's channel. We always say g'day to Shane. Do you think aluminium frames are suitable for indoor trainer use, or do aluminium frames fatigue too quickly when used on the trainer? That's a good question. You do have more of a corrosion issue with an aluminium frame typically. And they are more susceptible to fatigue. So it's hard to make a blanket statement because there's so many variables on the design. So obviously a heavier built aluminium frame is going to be quite durable because you've got more margin, for safety, for these other things to happen. So I can't make a blanket statement like, aluminium frames are better than this or worse than that, because there's so many factors come into the design and construction. Do you know what size bearing is right inside the Freewheel hub? I don't off the top of my head. I've got the hub here. I can measure it and get back to you on that one. Here's a really good question. All carbon parts seem to have issues. I think I'd prefer the potential joint problems versus the virtually guaranteed steerer crushing problems. Again, there's been another comment below that. After watching some of the vids, I'm wondering if carbon can be used in the bike industry's failure-free. I'm about to buy a Titan frame, and when it comes down to the forks, I really don't know. That's really interesting as well. So going back to the first part, the potential joint problems, if they're the crown of your fork, I definitely would not want that potential joint problem. I'd prefer the stirrup crushing problems can be mitigated with a compression plug, which I did a video on, and and sensible application and torque wrenches and all. For a lot of it, they can be mitigated. Whereas a bonded crown, you've got no way of knowing if that's going to fail or not, or when it's going to fail or how, and you've got no control over that. There was a question further down which I saw at the beginning of the week as well. Can the ultrasound scan find find that problem before it becomes critical? In a word, not reliably. No, it can't. It can find if there's a void, so if there's a void in the adhesive, but it cannot give you an indication on how strong that bond is. So the scan will show that it's bonded, but we won't give you an indication of how strong that bond is. And that's a problem in the aircraft industry when they bond things, and is a reason why they end up often putting a bunch of rivets through things, which they call chicken rivets, by the way, because they're a bit chicken just to trust the bond on its own. So yeah, that's one of the unknowns, and if somebody ever comes up with a way to reliably determine the strength of a bond line non-destructively, they're going to be pretty wealthy, I'd say. So yeah, maybe it's something I should work on. The other sort of part two with a reply on that question was, if carbon in the bike is failure free, and what fork to select on the titanium frame. I'd suggest that basically every single material has got problems, and how that has got potential problems, and it's how it's designed and manufactured, which is probably a bigger contributor to it than what the material is. So in aerospace, you don't see welded titanium because it's unreliable. In a primary structural application, you might see ducting, that sort of stuff, but you will not see a structural welded metal in a primary structural application on any commercial aircraft that I've ever seen anyway. And then putting the fork, I mean, you get a lot of people who say, oh, I'm gonna run a steel frame from now on, and most custom steel builders or titanium will put a carbon fork in their custom steel or titanium bike. So you're susceptible to these problems, and that's why I'm trying to bring them to a real highlight, and to make people aware of, particularly make the manufacturers aware, which I'll talk about a little bit later on. There's I've got an interesting email from one of the big brands. But let's keep going some questions here. Discussing different grade carbons, etc. Look, there's a lot of misinformation on that. I have spoken about that in the past a little bit here and there, and the same person's commenting, stop waving your arms when you talk. Yeah, I know. Look, I know that's a problem. I'm passionate about what I do. I talk with my hands. That's just how it is. I like the tip. If you're holding something, it's less of a problem. I'm aware of that. When I've done presentations, I've often brought things up on stage to hold, to show. So it's I'm not waving my hands around as much. Anyway, we've all got our little personal traits. So Yeah, what else is there? Some guy with an older fork, do you think it's safe to ride? Very hard to say. As I said, even if I scan it, I can't tell you how strong that bond is. So, if you're in doubt, for the sake of a few $100s to replace a fork, just replace the fork. Trex had a recall, and then there was obviously the case where the gentleman died after his fork failed. Bit of discussion on that. More on alloy braking surface rims. I think, as I said, I'll do another video on those in the near future. Do mountain bike forks tend to have the same issues? Typically not. There was another question too about the creaking in the crowns. So they're a press fit typically with the aluminium crown and the aluminium stanchion on a suspension fork. And if the fit isn't perfect, it's a press fit, it's basically a compression press fit, you can get a little bit of creaking in that joint. Typically it's not going to come apart, it's not going to fail like that. I'll say typically. But the mountain bike stuff is really built much more solid. It's where weight isn't an issue, which, I find it incredible that you can buy a top end mountain bike fork, like a RockShox Sid or a Fox 32 or whatever, and with all the engineering and the suspension technology in that, and they can be cheaper than a generic road fork, which we all know how much they cost to make those forks, but just the margins that some of the brands are putting on that stuff I think it's a bit out of control. Does the guy who was riding that fork have any teeth left? I can't remember. That fork came to me ages ago. I can't remember all the details. He did, it was a serious injury. That's all I recall. I can't remember the finer details, how many teeth got knocked out. But basically, and that's why, there was a comment saying I'm being repetitive on this stuff. I'm trying to drum into people that this is a serious topic. Having a fork failure is a very, very serious topic, and you can be killed. People have been killed. It's well documented. The least that you're going to get out of it is going to be a bad injury, or as Eli said, losing some teeth. So I'm not going to apologise for being repetitive on this topic, because it is a very serious topic, and people they don't take it too seriously. They're a bit blasé and just saying, "Oh, it's just a bike, just go and ride it. You'll be fine." Well, if people took that attitude in the aircraft industry, or even in the automotive industry, people would be dying everywhere. And I don't know, I just find that unacceptable. More questions. Nothing bonded is ever better. I don't know about that, actually. To make something in one piece, if it is very difficult to make it in one piece, you're more likely to have molding problems. And, therefore, if you can make it in multiple pieces and bond it and have a good bond design, you can potentially alleviate some of that. As opposed to multiple pieces are typically much easier to inspect. So there's pros and cons. So it comes down to design, not material, as I keep on saying. Sorry for being repetitive to that person. What else are we? Failures caused by a disc brake caliper on a fork. And that's an interesting one, because the fork, the loads going into a fork when you put a disc brake on it are significantly different to a caliper, a normal caliper road style brake. What about steel forks? What are your thoughts on those? Steel forks are fantastic. They have a very reliable failure mode. All the engineering has been done it's proven over a long period of time, very reliable. High elongation, like steel has a high elongation, 13% typically. So they bend, all these sorts of things. Steel forks are great. They're very reliable, but they're heavy. So a steel fork can weigh more than a carbon frame. Can weigh significantly more than a carbon frame. So that's what's driving people away. Unfortunately, everyone wants to be a weight weenie, and they'll think that they're quite happy to save a little bit of weight and compromise some reliability. Steel forks, I like them. They're just heavy, that's all. So typical steel fork weighs between 700 and 800 grams, and a carbon fork is 300 grams. So yeah, that's the difference. Can you please share the video of the Dryice? There was a link on that. Here's the one. The video I did ages ago on the generic Chinese versus the Envy rim, and the comment was, I think this proves the fact that all these rims are made by the same type of people with only a difference in design. That's probably quite valid. They're basically, one of the criticisms I have over carbon mountain bike wheels is that they're basically a road rim, which is a bit wider. And it's only been very recently where the designs have actually started to look at what are the specifics between mountain biking and road rims. So come on, tell us what that project is that I teased. I've been working on that one this week, and I didn't get a chance to post any videos because I've been flat out. It's got a deadline on Monday. I'll talk about that later on. So that will come. You'll see that. It's really cool. There's the mountain bike forks. And then stuff to build at home. It's toilet seats is a common one. I don't know about that. I'm trying to come up with some things a bit more novel that people haven't done really. What else? Here we go. I'm still riding my Mercian after 37 years. The frame was built in 1980 with Reynolds 531 double butter tubing. And look, those bikes, they were pretty reliable. But as I said before, the weight difference, the thing is, when the fork weighs as much as a frame, or even more than a frame, everyone wants the lighter stuff these days, and that's just how it is. So, and having said that, if people would make a carbon bike a little bit heavier, it would be much more reliable. Which is when I did the Malvern Star Oppie, when was that, back in 2008. One of the things I put into the design was, let's put 100 grams more material in critical areas, and then we avoid any of these little manufacturing issues, which we know we're going to get. You can't, it's a process thing, so you're going to get these things, but if you have more material in critical areas, then it's far less of a problem. And so we didn't have any warranty problems at all with those Malvern Star bikes, and and they could still be built to race at race weight 6.8 kilos. So from a racing point of view, where's the problem? So what other questions have we got? There's so many comments here. Are you able to make a custom carbon frame? Yes, I am. I've been making my own custom carbon frames since 1992. How to kill the second-hand bike market. Yeah, well, it's a matter of being aware. You know, I'm not saying everything second-hand is bad, but I'm saying have a look at it and check it out before you go down a hill at 80 or 100k an hour and kill yourself. So, yeah. Well, there. Let's leave it at that for the comment. That's sort of almost going back a week on some selective comments. It's just more stuff at home, lamps and stuff. I've actually got something which along those lines, which I might show you fairly soon. Yeah, let's leave it at that. I do want to talk quickly about, I was involved in an assessment recently where the person crashed and I didn't find any crash damage on the bike. However, I found some rather large manufacturing flaws, or what I consider to be manufacturing flaws. There was a small one in the frame, but what was a major concern was some voids in the crown of the one-piece carbon fork. And you know, I've shown you plenty of that stuff with cut-ups and things like that. So anyway, to the client, I said that you need to refer this back to the brand. I won't name the brand at this point. Refer back to the brand. We get an email from the brand saying that that I'm not authorised to inspect their parts. And therefore that the inspection is not valid. It passed all their testing and they're happy that it's safe to ride based on their testing, which obviously they're not doing any ultrasound testing. They did question the validity of ultrasound testing and saying, oh, you know, you can only find this sort of damage with a CT scan. Obviously, they're a little bit out of touch with some of the reality of non-destructive inspection. I've been doing non-destructive inspections since 1992, so 25 years I've been scanning parts in the aircraft industry, etc. Ultrasound is the go-to primary method for every plane flying in the sky. So to say it's not valid on a bicycle, I think it just shows that you don't really know anything about this stuff. So, you know, the other comment that was made was, here we go. I'm just reading the email now. That's right. Yeah. So there was no visible damage on the crash, which, well, we've all seen from the scans and the stuff that I've in the cut-up bike sections, that you can't see this stuff visually. It's within the laminate where the problem is. If you have a stack of papers and you have so a stack of sheet of papers on, and something is written on the third sheet of paper, can you read what was written on the third sheet of paper through the first piece? I can't. So, you know, with these laminate type structures, there's different things going on. It's not what you can visually see on the surface. Anyway, so they were still confident. They said they're still confident that there's nothing wrong with the product, and you know, and therefore it's it would, you know, that they were happy with, you know, nothing wrong with it. However, as a one-time Goodwill gesture, they're going to replace it. So it's like, well, how confident are you then? You know, it's like, I'm 100% confident that there's a flaw in that part. Cut it up, you know. like the fork has gone back. We're never going to see that fork again. That's going to be disposed of by the brand. But if they're so confident that there's nothing in it, I challenge them to cut it up, put the saw through it, right where I said there was a problem, and post it on their Instagram or their YouTube channel or whatever they've got, and put it up there. Like, you know, let's put it to the test. If I'm wrong, I'm happy to say I'm wrong, but you know, I haven't been wrong on this stuff in 25 years, so I don't think I'm wrong now. And everything else I've shown has shown that the things I find are there. So yeah, and of course, you know, yeah, the Goodwill just, oh well, yeah, we'll replace it now for you anyway. So which, I mean, it's the right thing to do. So, you know, congratulations to them. They did the right thing for their customer. Eventually, after being put in the corner, it would have been a really interesting scenario if the person then continued to ride their bike and the fork failed and they were killed. And yeah, how do you explain to the coroner? Oh yeah, we thought it was okay, even though there was a report from an industry expert saying he found manufacturing flaws in it. We thought it was okay, and we let the person ride again on it. So yeah, good luck explaining that one to the coroner. So anyway, we'll wrap it up there. I've been talking for far too long now. What we'll do is put your comments below if you like this format, this sort of, you know, and then you can throw questions in the comments, and then we'll run through it as a different sort of Friday afternoon chat format. Yeah, until I get some bandwidth and I can do it live. Just have a quick happy Thanksgiving to all my followers in the United States. Hope you have a great little holiday, and you can get a bit of time out on the bike. And yeah, we'll see you again in the future. Just quickly, this last thing. Yeah, I'll try and get some more tech content. This week has just been crazy. I'll try and get some more tech content out. But I'm going to go for a ride on the weekend, and I'm not going to produce any videos over the weekend. I'm going to go riding instead. I've been flat out this week. It's time to go out, enjoy the fruits of my labour, so to speak. Okay, we'll leave it at that, and we'll see you again soon. Okay, bye.